It's the middle of the night, thousands of years ago, and you are wide awake because half your face is on fire. There's a deep, pounding ache rolling out of the back of your jaw, throbbing in perfect rhythm with your heartbeat. You press your hand to your cheek. Nothing. You shift your jaw. Worse. There's no bottle of painkillers in a cabinet. No dentist to call in the morning, no light to flip on, no chair to sink into, no numbing gel, nothing. Just you, the dark, and a single tooth that has decided to ruin your entire existence. And here's the part that should actually scare you. That tooth might kill you. That's not me being dramatic for views. For almost the entire history of our species, a rotting tooth wasn't an annoyance you booked an appointment for. It was a genuine threat to your life. So how did people survive it? How did billions of humans across tens of thousands of years deal with the one pain that almost every single one of us has felt? The answer is smarter, stranger, and a whole lot more brutal than you'd think. Let's start with something that sounds completely backwards. The earliest humans, the hunter-gatherers, had great teeth. Better than yours, probably. Dig up their remains, and you'll find mouths with barely any cavities. Their teeth were worn flat from chewing tough, gritty food all day. But they weren't rotting. Why? Because there was basically no sugar in their world. No bread, no soda, no candy, no sticky honey on tap, no soft, starchy food gluing itself to their teeth for hours. Cavities happen when bacteria in your mouth gorge themselves on sugar and starch, and the ancient menu barely gave those bacteria a snack. Then, about 10,000 years ago, humans did something that wrecked our mouths forever. We invented farming. Almost overnight, our diet flooded with grains and starchy crops that stuck to our teeth and handed decay-causing bacteria an all-you-can-eat buffet. Tooth decay exploded. Look at human skeletons from right when farming spread, and you can practically watch the cavities multiply. So here's the uncomfortable truth. The toothache is a problem we created. We figured out how to grow our own food, and our teeth immediately started sending us the bill. Okay, so the pain shows up. What did ancient people think was actually causing it? For thousands of years, in culture after culture all over the planet, the answer was the exact same thing. A worm. A tiny, invisible worm living inside your tooth, burrowing and chewing and gnawing away at you from the inside. And no, this wasn't some fringe idea a couple of weirdos believed. One ancient clay tablet written almost 4,000 years ago literally tells the story of a worm begging the gods to let it live inside human teeth and drink from the gums. That same toothworm belief pops up over and over in totally separate groups of people who never even met. And here's the kicker. Folks clung to this idea so hard that in some places it survived all the way into the 1700s. For nearly 4,000 years, humanity's official explanation for a toothache was, there's a bug in there and it's eating you. Believing in a worm didn't do a single thing to stop the pain, so ancient humans got creative. And honestly, some of what they came up with worked shockingly well. All over the world, people chewed willow bark. Willow bark contains a natural chemical your body converts into something almost identical to aspirin. They had zero clue about the chemistry, but they knew it took the edge off. Other people packed cloves against a screaming tooth. Cloves contain a compound that's both a painkiller and an antiseptic, and it works so well that your dentist still uses it today. Through nothing but trial and error, ancient people stumbled onto medicine we never actually threw away. But here's where the story goes from clever to almost unbelievable, because some ancient people didn't stop at herbs. They did surgery. At one ancient site, archaeologists found human teeth that had been drilled. Not cracked, not chipped, drilled. Carefully, deliberately, with a tiny hand-powered drill tipped with a sharpened stone. These people sat down up to 9,000 years ago and let someone bore a hole straight into a rotting tooth to scrape the decay out. 9,000 years ago. That's older than writing. That's older than the pyramids. People were doing dentistry before they were doing recorded history. And it gets better. In another ancient grave, researchers found a jawbone over 6,000 years old with a cracked tooth that had been deliberately filled with beeswax, the oldest dental filling ever discovered, made out of wax from a beehive. Somewhere, way back in the deep past, a person looked at a busted, painful tooth and went, Yeah, I can patch that. These were not panicking cavemen running from an imaginary worm. They were problem solvers, fixing an agonizing problem with the only tools the world had handed them. Now let's be real about what happened when the herbs and the beeswax just weren't enough. When a tooth was too far gone, there was really only one option left: yank it out. Extraction, no anesthetic, no clean steel tools, no gentle technique. Just a determined helper, maybe some crude gripping tool, or sometimes literally bare hands and raw strength. And a patient with absolutely nothing to numb any of it. It was exactly as horrifying as it sounds. And if that tooth didn't come out, or the infection had already set in, things turned deadly fast. A dental abscess is a sealed pocket of infection, and in a world with no antibiotics, that infection could leak into your bloodstream or creep up toward your brain. People died from this, regularly. One single ignored tooth could turn into a fatal, full-body infection. There's a famous frozen body, preserved for more than 5,000 years, that was found with cavities and serious gum disease still sitting in his mouth. Bad teeth weren't just painful, they were a quiet, constant killer for most of human history. It would be easy to look back at all of this. The worms, the beeswax, the barehanded yanking, and laugh. But that completely misses the point. What's actually wild is how much ancient humans got right with almost nothing. They found real painkillers without knowing any chemistry. They performed real dental surgery without metal, electricity, or machines. They understood that a rotting tooth had to be dealt with, even while they were dead wrong about why. Strip away the modern gear, and the instinct underneath is exactly the same as yours. Make the pain stop, save the tooth, survive. So go back to that night in the dark, that fire spreading through your jaw, that ache that just won't quit. You don't know about bacteria. You think there might be a worm, but you reach for willow bark, you press a clove against the tooth, and if it really comes down to it, you let someone you trust drive a stone-tipped drill into it. Because the alternative is so much worse. That pain you'd feel, deep, pounding, impossible to ignore, is one of the oldest experiences a human being can have. Your ancestors felt it 10,000 years ago. They felt it 50,000 years ago. Same nerve, same tooth, same desperate signal firing up to a brain that wanted one thing and one thing only: make it stop. So next time you're sitting in that waiting room, dreading the little squeak of the dentist's chair, remember this: you are living through the single best moment in all of human history to have a toothache. For everyone who came before you, there was no chair to sit in. There was just the dark, the pain, and the quiet hope that this tooth, this time, wasn't the one that was going to kill them.